A massive M60 Patton tank tore through the streets of San Diego on May 17, 1995. The giant vehicle crushed cars like soda cans, toppled streetlights, and tore through fences like it was nothing, leaving thousands without power or water. For 23 minutes, chaos unfolded live on television as news helicopters hovered overhead, capturing every moment of the destruction. Barely a month after the Oklahoma City bombings, the armored rampage left everyone wondering, was this another terrorist attack? More importantly, where was this tank headed now? In the late 1970s, 20-year-old California native Sean Timothy Nelson was stationed in West Germany as part of the armor branch. It was the height of the Cold War, and he stood in defense of NATO's front lines just miles from the Iron Curtain. As part of a tank battalion, Nelson and his fellow soldiers trained rigorously, conducting live fire exercises and maneuvers designed to counter potential Soviet aggression. They operated the M60 Patton, a mainstay of U.S. armored forces and bulwark of Western Europe's defenses with its 105mm main gun, thermal vision, and advanced targeting systems. However, despite rising to the rank of tank commander, Sean Nelson became embroiled in plenty of disciplinary issues. In 1980, he was honorably discharged and had no choice but to fly back home. Following his short-lived military service, Nelson pursued a career in plumbing, establishing his own business in San Diego. Little did he know his life was about to unravel. After both his parents passed away in 1988, he began acting erratically. In 1990, a severe motorcycle accident left him with back and neck trauma. Sean Nelson became involved in a legal dispute at Sharp Memorial Hospital after an altercation with an emergency room security guard. Believing he got a raw deal from the facilities, he filed another lawsuit, this time for malpractice, but both were dismissed. From then on, his antics would only escalate. By the 1990s, the Army veteran was somewhat of a local celebrity who's unusual and bizarre. Known around his block for mowing his lawn at late hours and digging a 20-foot pit in his backyard in search of gold, Nelson's property was cluttered with machine debris and garbage. During this time, police were called to his home on 9 separate occasions for various incidents, ranging from domestic violence reports to complaints about a stolen van. Despite his notoriety, Nelson remained somewhat of a mystery to his neighbors. Behind closed doors, he was suffering from financial, professional, and interpersonal problems, mainly stemming from long-term substance abuse, as Nelson was abusing alcohol and methamphetamines, leading to his divorce. In June 1994, his van and plumbing tools were stolen, which hampered his ability to make a living. By May 1995, his situation had worsened. He was unemployed, still suffering from medical ailments, his utilities were shut off, and his house was about to be foreclosed. Now facing eviction, Nelson was in a desperate situation. At around 6:30 p.m. on May 17, 1995, Sean Nelson drove his van to the California Army National Guard Armory in San Diego's Kearny Mesa neighborhood. The armory was surrounded by an 8-foot chain-link fence topped by 3 barbed wire runs. However, while employees at the armory were working late, they made the grave mistake of leaving the gate to the vehicle yard open. Just then, a shirtless, disheveled, and intoxicated Nelson entered the unsecured gates without resistance. Moving with determination, knowing the tanks turned on with a push button and did not use an ignition key, he broke the paddles on 2 M60s with no luck. But as he lowered himself into the third tank, which finally turned on, he was noticed by a guardsman who approached the vehicle. Nonetheless, Nelson started the car. The engine's roar told the guardsman he had little chance of stopping him. He quickly ran over to a phone and notified the police. Just 15 minutes after he arrived at the base, Nelson smashed through the armory's gates inside the stolen tank. He turned the tank toward the street and headed into the city of San Diego. Over the course of 6 chaotic miles, Nelson crushed everything in his path, quickly plowing through parked vehicle after parked vehicle, including a large RV. He also crushed road signs, traffic lights, fire hydrants, and utility poles, knocking out power to thousands of family homes. Local witnesses described his movements as very precise and conscious, recalling, "He didn't go down the center of the street. It seemed like he aimed for the utilities, trying to cause as much damage as possible without hurting anyone." After eventually turning onto a main road, Nelson was headed straight for the freeway. Thankfully, help was already on its way. The San Diego Police Department was alerted after a detective spotted the tank and began following it. Rapidly, officers scrambled to intercept as he made his way toward California State Route 163, which was swiftly shut down in preparation for the approaching reckless armored tank. Nelson's rampage was broadcast live, with news crews and a police helicopter capturing every moment. CBS 8 photographer Larry Wiedemann, who found himself less than 100 yards from the tank, recalled, "I can think of 3 stories that I will never ever forget. The tank day was certainly more dangerous for me than any other story I have covered. I have never been that close to something that I had no chance of sheltering myself from." Next, Nelson steered the tank onto the closed State Route 163, heading south in a slow-motion chase that unfolded live on TV. Despite having a top speed of only 30 miles per hour, the man maneuvered the tank skillfully, with local police captain Tom Hall recalling, "He shifted into the proper gear and was preparing to spin the tank so he could get off the high riser. He knew what he was doing." According to news articles, Nelson may have been headed straight to the hospital he had tried to sue a couple of times, blaming it for his mother's loss. After attempting to cross into the northbound lanes of State Route 163, Nelson slammed the stolen tank into a traffic barrier, and the vehicle became caught on the concrete median barrier. The sheer impact caused one of its tracks to dislodge, bringing the crazy rampage to a sudden halt. Knowing the tank's weapons, a 105mm cannon, a 12.7mm anti-aircraft gun, and a 7.62mm machine gun were not loaded, 4 San Diego police officers quickly boarded the immobilized tank. San Diego police officer Paul Paxton, a gunnery sergeant with the Marine Corps Reserve, used bolt cutters to pry open the hatch using bolt cutters, which had been locked in combat mode. But Nelson refused to surrender, and in a desperate attempt to shake off the officers, he spun the tank's remaining track. With no weapons capable of penetrating the tank's armor, and uncertain if Nelson was armed, the officers had no choice but to fire. From then on, accounts differ slightly. Some reports claim Nelson was shot in the right shoulder, others say the left, but the result was the same. 35-year-old Sean Nelson lost his life, ending the chaotic 25-minute rampage. Despite the widespread devastation, Nelson miraculously harmed no one. Whether Nelson's motives were ideological or otherwise is still not clear today. Nonetheless, the police do not believe that Sean had any with a terrorist group. Later reports confirmed that Nelson smelled of alcohol. Nelson's friends criticized the shocking conclusion to the spree, saying police should have used tear gas or crisis negotiation. However, the incident shocked the nation only a month after the infamous Oklahoma City bombing. Considering this, Police Captain Tom Hall defended the decision, saying, "The bottom line was, we had to stop this guy." Scott Nelson spoke about his brother Sean's state of mind. He told reporters that his brother was only a shell of the person we loved. "We are very sorry for all the damage done and very thankful that no one was hurt." Immediately after the event, the National Guard sent 2 additional tanks to the highway to help maneuver the disabled tank onto a flatbed truck. A thorough investigation confirmed that vehicles entering the armory grounds had not been checked, despite heightened security measures, and that the incident marked the first theft of its kind at the facilities. In response to the incident, the batteries were removed from dozens of National Guard tanks across Southern California the following day. By November 1996, the National Guard had severely tightened security at its armories and relocated all vehicles to more secure locations. Whatever the motive was, in the years that followed Army veteran Sean Nelson's actions on May 17, 1995, The mental health episode left many grappling for answers. Some viewed it as a reflection of the American middle-class struggles, others as a warning about the plight of wounded veterans returning home with no battles left to fight and no support in place to help them.